The NASDAQ 100 and the SP 500 have just reached all-time highs. And so what I wanted to actually look at now was where could the charts be telling us where, what levels do we need to be looking for next on these index funds? I've seen a lot of people recently on Twitter, on Instagram, on Reddit, shorting these, buying puts, trying to sell them. And I just don't think that that is the way to do this right now. There is massive amounts of stimulus in the economy. I do think, especially the Nasdaq, that there's so much further to run. And this is because we did have consolidation throughout almost the entire sort of first quarter of the year. So it makes sense to see this rally continue. In this video, I'm just going to be looking at the S&P and the Nasdaq, just seeing what levels to look for next week and potentially going into August. It's the 23rd of July. My name's Tyrone, and you're watching Mini Pip. Getting straight into the video, I'm going to look at the NASDAQ first. Now, as of recording this, it is up around 1%. It most likely will be different when this is posted. But we have broken that now, and we are at 15,080, and it is a reasonable break of it. Whereas, earlier it tried to over here and it didn't, and it fell back, and we've obviously got buys at that 14,500 level. Now, given that, and this is what's interesting, is if we look at the daily time frame, we are actually overbought on the Nasdaq. But that being said, we have been overbought before, and we have gone up to sort of 76 on the RSI, and in the past as well. I mean, we got to sort of 83 over here, and this was September 2020. So there's definitely potential that we could continue high, and we could even get something like this here where we just get an absolute rally up. Now, I do have 16,000 as my main target, but looking into next week I'll be looking for around 15,400 to 15,250. That region is where I would be looking to get rid of my position, looking for a pullback on that to around 15, sort of 15,000, 15,100 to then go back in and eventually get to 16,000, hopefully some point in August. What's important is when we look at the constitutions within the Nasdaq. So despite the Nasdaq saying that it's overbought, if we look at the main players in there like Apple, we're not overbought on Apple, and Apple to me looks like we're going to go a lot further next week and the week after. We could get up to those highs again at 150. If break 150, we could get up to 152 and 153. If that happens, the Nasdaq will continue a lot higher. Again, with Amazon, if we look at Amazon, it's the same situation. We've got this huge candlestick from Thursday, from Thursday, sorry, and today we've got a small gain of 0.3%. But next week, if we head towards those highs at $3,700 a share, and we head to $4,000 a share, for instance, the Nasdaq's going to continue to fire up, because those companies, just those two alone, they have a 17% influence on this fund. So it makes sense to see this go up. I would not be a seller in this market, and if we do fall, we have plenty of support. So the first one is the 20 EMA at 14,900. There is 15,000 as well, which now could act as psychological support. But if we do break that, we've got 14,900 as support, followed by 14,819 and 14,726. And if that was to break like it did here, we do have this trend line with about 14.6 to 14.5 being sort of your major support. A break below there, we could be going further. But even if we did see that, eventually at some point we will bounce. I think it's unlikely that we're going to get to 14,000 anytime soon, unless there is some major economic event that comes out. So looking at just this, given its current momentum, next week I'm looking for around 15,250 at least, in extension of 15,003 to 15,400, and then a pullback maybe in August, and then late August to see 16,000. Now, looking at the S&P, it's pretty much exactly the same situation here. It's the same constitutions: Apple, Amazon, Microsoft, Tesla, PayPal. They're all going to continue to get higher. The S&P, though, we are teetering with 4,400, which is as similar to the Nasdaq, has struggled at 15,000 like the Nasdaq, and we have broken that. We haven't broken it as good as we have done with the Nasdaq, so there is a good possibility that we could, fall from here. But again, if we do fall, it's a buying market. So if we was looking at this, you've got support at 4,360, 4,350, and then 4,334. And worst case scenario is we go back to this trend line at 4,300. Unless 4,300 is broken, I see this going up to 4,500 sometime in the next 2 to 3 weeks. That would be my initial target for the S&P. I'm more interested in the NASDAQ because if things go risk on, I do find that the NASDAQ has done quite well. And I did read a report just recently saying that there was around a $10.4 billion outflow of money in US equities, but there was a 1.6 trillion or 1.4 trillion dollar inflow into tech, which tells us that if people panic, they're going to be putting their money in these big tech companies. You've also got MACD about to turn positive on the daily as well, which is always a good sign. And you can see last time we turned positive, we continued higher. I will be keeping track of all of the index funds, S&P, sort of FTSE 100, DAX, and the Dow Jones, anyways, on the website next week and the following weeks. If you head over to the site, there's plenty of information there about the index funds and other companies. So I've been looking at EasyJet, Ryanair, and Turtle Beach recently. There's a few other stocks that I'm looking at and I will be looking at next week as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe and follow. Thanks for watching.